top out of the way, we're going to go ahead and need to start removing some components to get to the injector. And to start, we're going to start with the actual fuel line itself. Now we have a connection at the fuel rail here for one side of the line, and then we have a connection on the other side of the line that feeds back to the actual feed tube for the injector. Now we're going to use a 19mm wrench to loosen those up. And once we have them loose, we can just thread those off. Now before I pull this line all the way off, one thing I will note, and I've already done it on this engine, you want to take some shop air or some brake cleaner, something to just kind of get some of the debris out of the way around the rail and around the actual insert for the feed tube. Any debris that finds its way into that tube or into that channel for the tube could find its way into the injector. And this is a common rail injection system, so any small amount of debris can actually get lodged inside of these injectors and cause them to stick wide open or just fail completely in the beginning. You don't want to have that happen, so at least try to clean this area out. We're in a fortunate spot here because this engine is on the stand. I know it sounds a little bit harder when you're thinking about it in the truck itself, but best case scenario, if you can just get some shop air to this area, compress. And so now with our 44-pound set, we'll go ahead and start torquing down our hold down bolts for the injector. Now that we have those torqued down to 44, we're going to go ahead and replace our feed tube. And so we'll go ahead and take our feed tube. We'll put it in where the key only goes in one way. We now have that in there. We'll take our retaining nut that we held off to the side. Go ahead and run that down just barely finger tight. And now we're going to need to torque this hold down nut to a preliminary number of 11 foot-pounds. So there's 11 foot-pounds on the hold down. And so now we can go back to the hold down for the injectors. So now that these have been set to 44 on torque and our retaining nut on the feed tube has been set to 11, we need to return to the hold downs on the injectors and then torque those down to, and that'll be the final torque setting on the injector hold downs, is 71. And once we torque those down to 71 on each side, we're going to come back to the retaining nut and torque that down to 37 foot-pounds. So the series goes 44 on both of the retaining nuts, or bolts, for the injector, then 11 foot-pounds for the retaining nut on the feed tube, and then back to the retaining bolts for the injector,